Hi, I'm Angela Evans. I'm a student at Liberty University, and I just want to give my testimony. Um, in my human development class, I was asked to do Erickson's stage of development, his 8 stages of development, where as we go through this life and we have the different developments of from when we're an infant to late adulthood. I'm not going to go into this, but I'm just saying that I was asked for each stage of development, I was asked to tell what my own experience was and whether I had a good experience or a bad experience in that stage of development and how it affected me. And I began to cry because my life has not been perfect, and I know a lot of people's lives have not been perfect, but it was filled with drugs, alcohol at a very young age, drug dealers in my family, alcoholics in my family, violence. Um, a lot of people don't know that I was severely abused by my stepmother. A lot of people say, well, I don't understand why doesn't she get over this? But long story short, I wrote texted my professor, Professor Douglas Floor, and I said I had confessed that I was going to lie about the things that I have gone through and make it a positive one simply because I felt humiliated. And then I began to pray and cry and say, God, why? Why is this coming back now? Okay? And it wasn't just coming back in one area, it was coming back all through. It was coming through at school, it was coming through at home. I'm not going to go into detail, but these things were, I guess it was, with my counseling, because the counseling program, when I first started that, they said you really need to get a counselor if you have issues from your childhood to make sure everything is okay in your own life before you start counseling other people. So I followed that, and I've been in prayer about, my ministry is what I call it. But then, it started happening, like where I'm going through EDMR, which is eye movement desensitization recovery. Because of the trauma, my REM cycles do not work. I can't sleep. I can stay up for 8 hours a day. And then this makes it to where I have to sleep on and off throughout the day. So anyway, long story short is that I everything came to a head. And as I began to pray, God said to me, "What are you talking about? I made everything new. Everything that you went through all those years, I was there. Have you forgotten your grandparents who are Pentecostal preachers and pastors, or were? They're gone to be with the Lord now, but all through that time that they shared the Lord with me, and my grandmother played the piano and had me play some of the other notes. It was a game for us. These different gospel songs that they don't play now that are in hymn books. But anyway, a victory in Jesus and power in the blood, and I'm just remembering. And then I remembered how when my grandfather preached, he would stop in the middle of service. If there was somebody that had a demon, which I've seen happen, if there was somebody that needed deliverance for any reason and he felt the presence of the Holy Spirit, he stopped his sermon. He always gave an altar call and said, anybody that needs healing of any kind, anybody that needs prayer, anybody that needs deliverance. I saw demons come out of people. See, the Lord reminded me whose I am. The Lord reminded me that I am not given away to the things that have happened to me. I am not that person. I am redeemed by God. I am Jesus, and Jesus is mine. And I know I'm going off topic, but then I began to see. I said, it was liberating because I texted my professor and I let him know everything. I let him know everything, and the reason why I did not want to write that. And with every single sentence, with every single paragraph, I feel so liberated in Jesus. I have been delivered. It may not look like it yet, but I want to tell you something else, a sign that he gave me. I was cleaning out the closet, and there's some people that know that I went through Hurricane Katrina because my husband was stationed in New Orleans. And I tried to find out about our stuff. God told me not to go. He said, it's dangerous still. Do not go. And he reminded me of Lot's wife and what happened to her. She turned into a pillar of salt. I mean, not that I would turn into a pillar of salt, but it was kind of an example that if you look back, what could happen. So I went, and then I had 20 policemen, New Orleans policemen, with a gun to my head. One of them had a gun to my head. The other ones had guns all around. They were yelling and screaming at my brother to get on the ground, and they had a gun to his head. They slit his tires. They took every bit, $70 out of his wallet. My dad was there. My stepdad was there, and I was so afraid. They showed every indication that they were going to kill us. They were going to kill us. And the news was saying that the police officers and the different people were taking people and throwing them over the Mississippi River Bridge. And nobody ever saw them again. They shot them, and they threw their body in the Mississippi River. This was being reported on the news. Okay? I don't know if it was criminals. I don't know what they were doing. But they were shooting people and throwing them. It was a Mississippi River Bridge they were throwing them off of, and never to see them again. Because if something goes in that river, it's gone. You'll never see it again. So I'm saying this because I start to pull out what I thought was memorabilia or something like that, and it was bills. It was FEMA, the FEMA application that we filled out to get money. By the way, we had to pay it back. It's the government money. But anyway, so I began to pull all of these things out, and I began to see that they were from COVID. Some of it was from 2020 and COVID, and everybody knows that I got a COVID shot and I ended up having a bad immune system, and that's why now I'm kind of sickly. And then that was going, and I threw it away. And then all of the FEMA stuff and the stuff left over from the hurricane and the bills and from 2005, gone. I threw it away. And God told me, you see there? That's how I work. That is how I work. That one day you have all these difficulties, and in one day it could go away. It may not go away for a couple of years. It's been, 20 years since Katrina? It's been, 4 or 5 years since COVID? But God told me in that moment, do you see all that going in the trash? It's delivered, it's healed. It's gone. Gone in the sea of forgetfulness. The sea of forgetfulness. And I had to share this because I've been praying for deliverance for a long time. Because I have bipolar. I'm a Christian with bipolar, but I work really hard, and I'm not gonna let it get me down. But anyway, I believe that God has healed me. I may not see the results of it right now, all of the results, but that was His sign. That was His sign. And I asked Him, I said, why aren't we seeing churches with people being healed, with demons being cast out? Why aren't we seeing churches with people giving altar calls and asking people to give their heart to Jesus? Maybe your church does it, but I'm telling you, I want to see the miracles that I saw with my grandfather. He was a Pentecostal preacher, and I believe, it's not just the Pentecostal people, it's everybody that is a believer in Jesus, and they can say that they remember seeing people healed. Lame people walking, people that couldn't see that would see, and demon. I saw a demon go out of a person. My grandfather just all he did was barely touch on the head and started. He would fast and pray and fast and pray, and I had the privilege of listening to his prayers and his fasting, and it was such a great privilege to listen to him, and he had such a great prayer life. He had it to the point where whenever he laid hands on somebody, he had the gift of healing, and he would lay hands on them, and that demon went away. All I know is I was like 7 years old, and that lady had red eyeballs, and she looked like something else was looking back at you, and the demon went out. There was like no kidding, like a wind go through, like it's not like you see in the movies, but anyway. And a beam of light came down, and she looked like an angel. It was like a beam of light from heaven came down saying, she is delivered. And so that's what I want to get back to, seeing that as a child, and I want to see it now. And I want to do the very same thing that my grandfather did and pray for people and, speak life into people and just pray and fast and see these things come to pass. And it's going to start with me, and I really believe through this time, through this professor had a hand in it, Professor Flora. So many people had a hand in it. My sister, my daughter-in-law, who I was talking to today and telling her the story, my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law, just there's so many people that had a hand in this. It's years and years of prayers. Years and years of prayers. I want to see revival. And I believe it starts with us, and I feel it. I feel it. But anyway, I guess I got off topic. But it really needs to be told. It really needs to be witnessed that these things really happen. And I want to thank Professor Flora. I want to thank you, Liberty University. All the professors I've had so far have been a blessing to me, whether they critiqued me or they encouraged me. I think critiques can be constructive criticism. I feel like it can be critiques. It can be encouragement.